Salam, I'm seeking opinions on the topic of riba, interest, specifically in savings and investing. Currently have a Roth IRA, which is an American investing account, and a savings account. My Roth is invested in the S&P 500. I've been reading up on riba in Islam, and I believe I'm erring here by being invested in companies which do harm and get interest off it. I see that some invest in halal ETFs. However, those often have the same companies as the S&P 500, such as Google and Meta. Should we as Muslims not invest at all when it comes to stocks and ETFs? Should we invest in halal-only companies? And the dividends we receive from them, are they acceptable? Also, what about savings accounts? I can't control where the bank invests their money. I put into that account to receive the interest. All opinions would be appreciated, especially with relevant to Quran, Hadith, scholarly opinions, and how you personally navigate this topic would also be appreciated. So, very, very common question. All you need to understand is that stocks most definitely are much more difficult to invest into completely halal. There's a couple of things you need to consider here. First of all, when you're investing into the stock market, you have to understand that you are investing into a big enough company that it has got onto the stock market and it's dynamic, meaning that you have to assess that company. First of all, it needs to be in a halal industry. The main business functions of that company cannot be associated with anything haram, impermissible from Islamic point of view. And after that, once you've picked a company that is dealing in halal business, you have to make sure that the actual finances of the company are halal. Now, that is a more complex topic. I can definitely do a full video explaining all of the halal aspects of that. But even once you've done all of that, if at one point in the year, that company is completely halal, all the finances of that company are halal, they're not taking on too much interest, the income that they're generating is not coming from interest, etc., or too much interest above the threshold that the scholars have given permission for us to accept, that might change after 6 months, 12 months, maybe after 2 years. So you have to constantly be analyzing the companies that you're investing into the stock market. Now, in terms of ETFs, you don't need to invest into companies like that, dynamic companies that are dealing in different business models. You can even just invest into a gold ETF into the stock market, which is a phenomenal investment. It's a really, really good way to diversify your gold holdings. I recommend to our clients that they definitely consider having gold as a significant part of their investment portfolio. And buying through a gold ETF is just one way to diversify that gold holding. And how a gold ETF works is that essentially a company will open up and they will make their sole function as a business to buy and hold gold, meaning that the value of that company on the stock market, the price of that company, will fluctuate as closely as possible with the actual value of gold. So that's one way of investing into gold. And in the same theme, you can also invest into some potentially halal real estate funds, which don't deal in riba or interest. And that's another way to diversify your holdings. But again, especially when it comes to real estate or more complex business structures where they're dealing in lots of different avenues of business and they're getting income from lots of different sources, you need to be careful that they're not receiving too much income from interest. Now, it's very, very fair for someone to look at this and think, well, that seems like a minefield, and stocks seem to be really difficult to invest into in a fully halal way, which is very, very fair. I definitely think there are ways to invest into stocks, fully Sharia compliant, but if you make the decision as an investor that you want to be very strict with your Sharia compliance and you feel that stocks are too dubious from that perspective, then it's completely fair to say, you know what, I'm going to leave stocks and I'm going to focus the vast majority of my portfolio on the other asset classes. Crypto, gold, property is an amazing asset class that you can invest into many different structures, be really well diversified in different geographical locations and still be really well diversified. You can invest into rent to buy structures. You can invest into buy to rent structures, whether that's short-term or long-term rentals. You can invest into property funds where your investment goes into a pool and that pool goes towards buying large developments. You can invest into social housing structures. For example, in the UK, we have access to asylum housing projects where our client will help you get access to some properties where the government will house an asylum seeker someone needing social housing, and the government will essentially guarantee you 5 to 7 years of rental income with zero headaches about maintenance, any damage caused to the property. The government will take care of all of that. And then we also have one of our own team members who can help you buy property in Dubai. Now, property in the GCC region, Middle East, is actually incredibly affordable. If you find a really, really good area that's up and coming, you can buy an off-plan property for very reasonable prices. For example, a studio apartment in a really busy area of Dubai, you might set you back around 100 and 150,000 pounds, which is actually very reasonable, especially if it's a really in-demand area of Dubai. On the other hand, you can invest into one of the other Emirates, Sharjah, Ajman potentially, and for 150,000, 200,000 pounds, you can buy a massive villa that's maybe 3 or 4 bedrooms, approximately 3 to 5,000 square feet, which is massive. And you can buy that freehold, meaning you own the land, you own the property. And these Emirates like Sharjah and Ajman are massively up and coming. I absolutely believe that these Emirates will see similar growth to Dubai over the next 10 to 20 years. So there are many different avenues that you can invest into if you make that decision that stocks as a whole are too difficult to invest into from a fully Sharia compliant perspective. And I would encourage you to be strict with your Sharia compliance. When you join us as a client, we will sit you down and we will go through all of the available opportunities. I will say now that they are most definitely fully halal options to invest into the stock market. It's not easy. You do have to be a little bit careful. But as I said, if you make that decision that you want to be a little bit safe and you want to avoid any doubt in your stock market investments, then you can leave the stock market and you can put more of your portfolio into gold, crypto, property, alternative assets, luxury watches, and even early stage businesses. We have another one of our clients that invests into early stage businesses that are not very, very small up and coming businesses, that are actually small businesses, but they are consolidated, meaning that the risk of those businesses failing is much lower than investing into very, very newly started businesses. So these are the options that we make available to you as one of our clients, inshallah ta'ala. When you take that step, when you want to take this seriously, when you want to work with mentors, when you want to work with our team, we will give you access to a wide range of amazing financial experts, tax experts, property experts, alternative assets experts, expatriation professionals. We're in the process of securing financial advisors as well. And obviously myself, I've got almost 10 years of experience in the investment markets. And you'll have access to all of our educational programs, which are massively increasing, to teach you all about the investment markets, to teach you sales skills as a dentist or a professional who wants to increase their bottom line. And something that I'm releasing, inshallah, over the next 6 months is my Hijrah program that will be released on YouTube completely for free. So whether you want to work with us or whether you want to support us completely for free, the best way to do that is by liking this video, subscribe please, leave a comment, ask me a question. I'm very, very happy to answer questions that I get here. And inshallah, I will see you very, very soon. And if you want to apply to potentially become one of our clients, check out the description where there will be a link to join one of our live trainings. Inshallah, I'll speak to you very, very soon. Assalamu alaikum.